as a developer, you're part of a team, and in a lot of the recent teams we've had over the last few years that we've led, we don't have it as developer tester. You're a team member, you're part of the development team, you're all together developing something. And even if you are a coder on that team, you're not coding all day. You've got to communicate with people in your team. You've got to communicate with the business analysts. You've got to communicate with the Scrum Master. So there's a lot of pair programming, pairing on designs, pairing on UX. There's so much more to than just coding. So do bear that in mind. Even as a coder, you won't be coding 8 hours a day. Probably, I think the average is about half the day who currently works in tech. Okay, who is a developer? Who wants to become a developer? Okay, good. That's what we want to see. Okay. Raise them high and proud. Right, developer. Exactly. Me too, I'll put 2 hands up.
Who wants to be in tech?
Yes. And we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah.
You know, Andrew, do you need a computer science degree? When you're hiring people, do you look for a computer science degree?
10 plus years ago, probably an important thing to put on your CV. More recently, less so. I think people are much more interested in the achievements you've had, what work experience and not so much I've worked for these big companies, I've had these fancy job titles, they don't mean much, but the actual projects you've been doing on those things, they're much more of an interest when you're looking through and trying to discuss with people what it is they're doing and what they're looking to do. When you're starting out, the education becomes important, but look at also what you've been doing during that education. Were you involved in trying to run clubs and societies? How well can you interact with others? That's the stuff that is much more interesting.
Did you go to meetups, hackathons, and we're going to get a bit more into that. Do you have any side projects on GitHub? As you're learning, share that.
Do you need to be a human calculator to do this stuff?
Are
you a human calculator?
I love maths at school. That's the only one thing I could do. But it hasn't helped me doing programming. Like, I don't do it. At university, I did do a bit of programming and I hated it. But they're like, sort this data. You know, do these algorithms. Have I ever used that in my day job after 15 years? Not once, because you just say to the database, hey, give me the data sorted by this in this order. Do you need to know all the technologies? Do you need to know like all the latest and greatest stuff?
React again, there's a big buzzword there. Let's just say they need 10 years of that because we're looking for someone experienced. They don't have a clue how long it's been around for. It might have literally just come out last week. When you look at these job specs, don't believe what you see written down. Apply to them, ask them to tell you more.
I did laugh when I remember React was like a year old, and then you saw a job role saying you must have like 6+ years.
Well, just don't be put off, right?
It hasn't been out that long. How can you have 6+ years? It's like, and the people who will apply for that are probably the people that they don't want. Bear that in mind. Don't take job roles with a pinch of salt. Take it with a handful of salt.
That's what developers do. They're sat there behind the code,
in the dark
coding
room.
away. Is that really what goes on?
No. So as a developer, you're part of a team, and in a lot of the recent teams we've had over the last few years that we've led, we don't have it as developer tester. You're a team member, you're part of the development team, you're all together developing something. And even if you are a coder on that team, you're not coding all day. You've got to communicate with people in your team. You've got to communicate with the business analysts. You've got to communicate with the Scrum Master. So there's a lot of pair programming, pairing on designs, pairing on UX. There's so much more to than just coding. So do bear that in mind. Even as a coder, you won't be coding 8 hours a day. Probably, I think the average is about half the day.
Personally, I've been coding for probably more than 50 years, but the reality is it's only the last 5 years that actually matter. Things change so fast that no matter how many years, okay, I've gained a wealth of being able to talk to business people and all the rest of it, but none of that matters when it comes to writing the code. It's only the last 5 years. Technology moves so fast. For me, agile practices are a big thing. I think if people have got the right understanding of those processes, that's a big thing when I look for hiring people. It's the whole package. Do they understand how to gather requirements, writing quality into their stuff, and the whole CI/CD pipeline. If you come across continuous integration, continuous delivery, if you haven't come across it yet, you will. That is the sort of stuff that I'm really fascinated by, and that's what I look for in people. So yeah, testing doesn't come last, it comes first. When you're writing your code, you've got to think about how is this going to work in the real world. So again, that's another big thing for me. That's where I have a lot of my belief, is it's in the quality of what you're building, not how long it takes to build it. And there's a misconception there. A lot of people think, oh, if we don't do tests, we're going to be able to move quicker. Okay, maybe for a couple of weeks you will, but come to a couple of months down the line, you're just going to be firefighting with everything because things are just falling apart around you. So you lose that predictability. When it comes to building teams, I like to build a diverse team. So I'm looking for people with a mix of skills. I'm not looking for just clones of 10 people that can all do the same job. I'm looking for people that are going to be able to bounce off each other as well.
And challenge each other. Like, we love working together, but we do disagree, and I think that adds so much value. But we're professional enough.
We never disagree.
Can you agree on
that? Wait a second. It's important to have that challenge each other and always be challenging each other. I think it's really, really important. I've been doing it for over 15 years. I'm a real advocate for open source. So any of your learnings that you do, put it open source on your GitHub profile, even if you're just learning, you're just doing hello world. It's really important because when I hire people, if I want to look at their code, I actually like to look at not only their code that they've done today or this week, I like to go back a couple of months and go, I hope it's worse than it is now, because that means they've learned something. And that's really important. Whereas if you haven't got that history, I think, well, what are they trying to hide? So put it on, put all your learnings on there, and then if you ditch that project and move on, that's fine. It's good to keep that history. Don't delete anything, just archive it, keep it there.
And as you're learning, if you're working on projects, so say for here, doing those projects, put them up on open source. People can follow that journey and look back at that journey. How did you evolve? What kind of things interest you?
I believe everyone can code, and when I say code, I don't literally mean writing JavaScript and so forth. Documentation should be treated like code, as in it goes through pull requests, so it gets reviewed by the rest of the team, not only to keep the quality high, but also to have knowledge transfer. So I treat everything as the code workflow, pairing, review, etc. and so forth. So I believe everyone can get involved. And we're going to dig more into that. And I love building inclusive teams. It is important. We love having a variety of people from every sense of the word on our team.
So a retrospective is an agile ceremony. So during agile, there's a lot of different practices you do. And one of the things that I think is very important in that practice is every sprint. So if you're working for a 2-week set of work or 1 week, however long it is, you reflect back on what you've done. And you ask yourself 3 questions. What was good? What was bad? And what would I change? What do I want to do next? How do I want to evolve? And what actions am I going to make? So we've done a similar thing, looking back a little bit at our careers, the things we've had to do, and we just try to pick a couple of topics. Teams, we work with a lot of good teams. We try to build good teams, and I think that has been good. Working in a team. I mean, when I first started out, I think I was probably working a lot on my own, focusing a lot on myself. But I evolved very quickly into working in a team, understanding how a team can really be beneficial, and you learn and bounce off each other. You find a mentor. And learning, again, within the whole career, you're always learning. I mean, there's never a dull moment when it comes to learning, whether that's off your peers, reading up on the internet. So many ways of learning. And even when you start to get to that point, you can start again into the knowledge sharing a bit. I mean, you're always feeling inspired, and that's definitely something that I take away from the whole tech industry. I mean, it's not just working in certain teams, the whole industry is very inspiring. Loads of awesome things going on. If you can read on the internet, you can see about things going on robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Again, there might be buzzwords, but there's some really good stuff going on. A lot of people are misusing that word, but there's a lot of inspiring things going on there. And the last one on the good side, I mean, one of the best things is to go to hackathons. Even when you're just starting out, I mean, like we went to a hackathon last year. Never have I written any kind of game code at all. We went to a virtual reality hackathon last year.
And we won.
We did
I
win.
spoiled your thing, sorry.
I wasn't going to say
won.
that 100%. But you met a lot of interesting people. We learned a lot. I mean, that one weekend I learned how to build a game. And it was super simple, really simple game.
Just to reiterate, don't want to we won. We thought we set ourselves up that we were going to lose. We thought we were going to go to learn and meet people, and we didn't think we'd win. And because the other teams were VR developers as a day job, and their games were epic. They were 3D everything. But ours was really catchy. The whole point, the challenge was make a game that people don't want to put down. And our game was so stupid and simple that no one wanted to put down. It's called Headbutt.
We've got
Dragon.
people up on their feet as well,
yes.
Right?
So rather than having a gun and just sitting there, we had to run around the room with a VR headset on, and people were bashing into things. It was amazing. Like the videos we got.
We
from
sort
that.
of forgot the fact that people couldn't see what was around them.
I hope there's no recruiters in the room. We've had some, no offense, we've had some bad experiences with recruiter. I think, you know, if I know it's a hard market, and it's hard on both sides. So the developers also make it hard. You know, they do lie. Oh, I've got 10 years React, and React hasn't been around for a year. And the recruiters do the same, and it's kind of a toing and throwing game. So it's really hard. So I've had some really bad experiences.
So it's on both sides, when you're hiring and when you're looking for a job
Yes.
yourself. I mean, we hire loads of people, we hire a lot of people. And the number of people that get presented to you, you're told, oh, this is a really great person, you can do everything you're after. You talk to them on the phone for 5 minutes, they say, have you done this? You get yes, and then you ask them this one question, and it should be quite a straightforward question, and they just stumble over and go, what? Can you explain that? And you have to sort of drive it, it's like drawing blood from a stage, just go, you know what, thank you. But
So if you find a good recruiter,
Exactly, there are some.
there are some,
Yeah.
but they're really
Yeah,
hard
she
to
is,
find.
the
Yes,
best one.
exactly. So a recruiter who comes to an event like this and speaks is going to be a good recruiter. And you want to get their business card, and you want to connect with them on all the platforms, and literally stay in touch with them. I think it's really important. Management, again, the middle management, sometimes, I can't remember why we put that down, but we've had some pain points with middle management, not knowing what the top want, not understanding what they want at the bottom. and they're just trying to push their career forward, and that's what they care about. They don't care about the project fails, as long as they go forward, and that's really, really hard. So a lot of places
They're very career focused, I think, when it comes to
on
that.
themselves, very selfish, and it's very different to what we're used to. So in the Agile principle, back in the day, they don't use it anymore, there was pigs and chickens. And the reason why everyone in the development team was pigs was because when you go to an English breakfast, the pig is committed, whereas the chicken is involved, right? They can lay an egg and
Bacon and eggs, right?
Bacon and eggs, right? So everyone in as part of the team, the pigs, if something's gone wrong, they're going to be there with you in the evening and help you fix it if you need to, if you feel it's your fault or you have to work late. But whereas I find management are more chickens, right? They kind of just say something, plant a bomb and go. So I've had some really bad experiences. So a lot of places have actually cut out that middle layer, I think, which has been really, really important. Closed environments. So this is changing now as you're coming into tech in a really good time. So before it was always closed source, we don't want anyone to steal our ideas and so on. And now it's more open, transparent. Look at like Monzo and Starling, right? They're revolutionising banking, they're really open APIs, open source code, and they want to build a community. Monzo runs meetup events, and literally, if I try to sign in 30 minutes later, 200 spaces sold out like that. It's unbelievable, like what a community they have. So I think these are some of the bad things, but you're coming in at a good time, like I said, everyone's being more open, there's more events to go on. Hype, I think you put this one in.
Hype. So there's a lot of stuff that comes up. It changes it changes so fast. There's a lot of hype, and again, perhaps going back to management, they're like, oh, we've got to be using this new thing, it sounds great, it's fantastic. They don't understand what it is, it just sounds really good, we've got to be using that. So be wary of hype. I mean, the number of times that we've been talking about, don't get me wrong, on your CV it might look great, and we talk a lot about CV-driven development. There's a lot of people out there that
That's
will
not good.
that will try and just use this new tech and try to work with it, but wait a little bit, wait until it's actually evolved. Use it in your own time, understand it, get an appreciation for it, but when you're working for clients and working on projects, try to avoid
use the right
that
tools
stuff
for the job as well. And like for example, I was saying earlier on that we go to places where they say, oh, we're agile. Brilliant. Well, what do you do to be agile? We use Jira. And it's like, it's just a tool. It doesn't make you an agile team. So that's some of the bad examples we have. So actually avoid a lot of projects with Jira because of that.
Your favourite next?
Rockstar and Ninja we kind of mentioned. I hate that, really do. Imposter syndrome. So this kind of swings and roundabouts, I suppose. If you're getting imposter syndrome, I think at an early stage in your career, that's really good because you get to know how to deal with it, rather than someone like myself who got it at a later stage in their career, is more critical and more vital. So back at the beginning of my career, if I'm completely honest here, I was a typical kind of young guy. I'm amazing at everything. I've got 10 years React. I've only just started development for a week, but I've got 10 years React, applying to all these jobs and trying to wing it. And some jobs I might get, some I might not. Whereas imposter syndrome is the complete opposite. I've got 15 years experience. Like, oh, can I really do this? I'm not really sure. I'm just thinking, but I've done it multiple times before. So I suppose it's really good to have that network of people that you might work with on a regular basis, or you might not. So say mentors are really important, but don't focus on one mentor. I believe everyone can be your mentor. Everyone in this room, no matter what stage you are in your career, are a mentor to me because you've got different experiences. You have different experiences, different skills, and you can all teach me something. So try and get everyone to be your mentor and learn from each other, and do ask around. So if you ever get overconfident or imposter syndrome, do just get someone to kind of revalidate that and engage that for you. Change. If we go back to our younger self, what we would change, what advice we would give to ourselves. So this is, I think, something to really take on board. I hope that gives you a bit of background on that side. On this side, I hope it gives you some actions as well. I've been talking a lot ago.
Yeah, so confidence, I mean, it's a two-way street. There's a lot of things that go on. You go to meetings and you might sit there quietly listening to everyone else, but you know what the right thing is to do, and you don't want to speak up because you're not quite ready. I mean, there's been a number of times when, I suppose in the past, I've sort of sat back a bit, expecting everyone in the room to have more experience than me, know what's going on, and be able to lead the direction right. But actually things go wrong and you kind of go, oh, why didn't I just say during that, this is what they should have been doing? So I'd certainly go back to myself and say, look, when you can see that they're taking the wrong path, don't be aggressive about it, but be confident, speak up, tell them, actually, I think we should look at this a little bit further before we go down that way. And it's the same in the room. I mean, these days I almost get the opposite of that now. I'm maybe a little bit overconfident, and I'm in a room, and everyone's sat around and they're quietly just listening and expecting me to guide them. But I'm actually keen for them to come back, and I'll go around the room these days and say, any thoughts from yourself, which people never did to me. I mean, I never got any of that. So if you're in that situation on the other side, ask around the room, make sure you listen to people.
Social profiles. This is a really, really hot topic. It's something I've been getting into more recently, but I think it's important. So I really, for the last 5 or 6 years, focused on GitHub. So 2 years ago, I was in the top 500 open source contributors in the world on GitHub, and about 20 million people. I trended with like Google, Microsoft, but that's for techies. And so, although yes, I did get companies contact me, it was the ones who were really looking at that platform. So whereas in social side, being able to write a blog, if you can write, I can't write or read, so that's not good for me. But that's why I've started doing more vlogs with video, because I talk a lot and I can afford that. So, but have that social presence, I think is really important, because the people looking at your profile, well, some people want the technical side, some people want the non-technical side. So I think just try and do a few different things to make yourself more stand out of the crowd. I think that's really, really important.
Try not to think everything's on yourself. It's a team effort doing these things. You're not alone, and that would be something I go back to myself, because there were many evenings and nights where I head down. I wouldn't say to people I was stuck on something. I'd just be trying to figure out how do I solve this on my own. But use the people around you. Ask them, have you experienced it before? Any ideas where I could go look at it? So think about the team, be a team player, I guess.
And just to build on that, one more thing I think of is also when you ask your question, be smart. If someone was asking you that question, how would you want it? So what did you try, what did you do that caused this error or problem or what you're stuck on? What have you tried? Where have you researched? And just say, I've tried this, it also didn't work, I'm still stuck, rather than, it doesn't work. When we have our items or stories that we're doing for that sprint, if we miss one or two or three, we say the team didn't achieve that, not that person that was assigned to that didn't achieve it, because you either fail as a team or you succeed as a team. So when you do finish it and you pick up something for next week and you race ahead, the team achieves that. It's a lot of sharing. So we do like brown bags, and a brown bag is when we grab our food and we just get around the table at lunchtime and someone will just talk about something. They've learned something at the weekend for 10 minutes. So just share.
I mean, it could be talking about videography, for example.
It can be anything. It doesn't have to be coding, exactly. You're completely right. We do a lot of it around the coding side, because we're playing with stuff that I've played with Vue.js or Angular or whatever it is, and we say, oh, this is what I did, and here's a quick example, and then it just starts that conversation again. So those sort of things really help, and it breaks the ice with people. It builds up a lot of rapport. So yeah, knowledge sharing is really important. Pair programming is really important on that as well. We still pair program nowadays. Transparency, I mentioned open source before, but also transparency within the company. If we like it when we go to a meeting, or someone else goes to a meeting, you come back to the team and say, I had a meeting, here's the highlight, here's what we talked about. We even try to document it. Documentation repo that's treated like code, and a website internally built from that with a PDF. And I think that's really important, because not everyone has to go to all meetings, but it's good just to feel included. You don't want to say, oh, we had a meeting. And it's just like, well, there's no value in telling me that, just don't tell me that. Say you did no work. So yeah, transparency in every sense of the word is really, really important. That's what we instill.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why
we don't
open source.
Yeah, open source. We don't like private messages on Slack either, because otherwise it's always the same person getting asked the questions, or this person's an expert in that area. Well, no, if you don't ask someone else, they're not going to get better at that area. Other people are not going to learn from it. So we have channels in Slack, for example, that the whole team are part of, and anyone can answer that. If someone's busy, then someone else can answer it, and then other people can go, oh, I need that question, and I know the answer for next time, so other people can learn. So again, transparency in every sense.
Told you up here, so again, back to that earlier comment, it's very important to understand it. I mean, one of the things that I was asked today is, oh, we're going to hire some more people. What benefits can we offer them? You think, well, how do you know what that person's interested in? You can list off all sorts of things, but you need to actually understand who you work for. Some people might be driven by going and having free beer, I don't know, going playing foosball on the foosball table. But understand each individual's needs. What is it they want?
Yeah, different. Sorry.
Yeah, build that culture based around the conversations that you've had, not about saying you will do this. As you said at the start, you can put things there, but you can't force people at it and say.
Yeah. The journey of people's lives and careers, it changes as well. So at the beginning of my career, I was focused on money. Right? I wanted that deposit for the house. I wanted to buy it, and now I'm more about work-life balance, and so I do want to spend time with the family, etc. and so on. So that's really, really important. That's what we believe, and hopefully a lot of other places are doing that as well. So do look into that, and I think that's a benefit as well.